Hello, guys. Welcome back. So, somebody asked a great question, and it actually came up today since I went up to see the very Christian friends of what do you do as a pagan? How do you deal with Christian relatives? Now, it's like actually really complex to unpack, and only you know how to handle your relatives well. Sometimes there is no room to have a discussion, there just absolutely isn't, and you know it. Um, But it helps to kind of remember whatever flavor Christianity or Judaism or whatever they're, you know, practicing. They believe as they were taught. If they believe there's only one God, somebody somewhere taught them that. That's what I was taught growing up Roman Catholic. There's one God and one God only. They're angels and saints, and all the other gods, are false gods. And I would always think, no, even as a little girl. So it never took with me. But some people, they truly take to it, they truly believe it, and they believe every good thing that comes from into their life comes from their God. Conversely, every bad thing that comes into their life is a test from God. So, kind of cranky and moody. But, it's very hard for someone that is in that mindset to sit down and have a civil discussion. Now, there are Christians that you could tell them you worship paper clips and they wouldn't bat an eye. They'd be like, good for you as long as you're happy. And then there are people that have no discussion. And like with my friends, I think having seen my front door, and I didn't go out of my way to be obnoxiously pagan. I honestly didn't. I just put some runes up and it kind of overflowed from there. And kind of some of the stuff I decorate with, it's coded pagan or it's for the gods, and it's not pagan in any sense, but it's for the gods. Whether she's put two and two together or she's being willfully blind, I don't know. But I've worn the Triforce cap, as Loki likes to call it, in the rings and stuff. And I think because I can honestly go to church and I can honestly talk about God or Jesus, she never really brings up the pagan stuff. That's the kind of relationship we have. But she's not the kind of person to bring up all God has done for her. In fact, she's one of those worrying Christians. You know, that kind where they're always kind of worried and you try to reassure them. And I'm the one telling her, have faith in God. And I'm like, this is her God. Oh, she's one of those Billy Graham type of Christians. Okay. Um, and I'm the one that usually has to like minister to her. So the pagan is sitting there ministering to her about her God. I'm like, yeah, as far as I know, I don't know all the answers. To me, there are many gods because I experienced them that way. To dyed in the wool Wiccans, there's a mother god, father goddess, who are represented by every god and goddess on earth, and some people will go further to say that there's just one god and all gods are that face. I don't know, you do you, you do what makes you happy. But it can be a complicated discussion to have, especially with family if they're concerned for you. For some people, religion's not a big deal. For some people, it is a very big deal. And since I grew up Roman Catholic and I, experienced a lot of flavors of Christianity as I was trying not to become pagan, um, there are Christians that believe they have to save everyone. They have to save everyone or their God's going to, deny them entry into the afterlife. You have to kind of feel sorry for those people. I know it's horrible. I know nobody should be taught that, but that is what they're taught. They're taught that if they don't save everybody on the planet, which is impossible, they're not getting into heaven. And that's sad and that's unfortunate, but you have to kind of ask them about their beliefs. In a calm situation, maybe sometimes it helps to have a neutral party around and ask them. And I try to read and I try to kind of discuss with the gods that if it's meant to naturally come up, let it naturally come up. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, I never actually broach the topic. Like, I've never really looked at her and go, I'm gay, right? If somebody starts mouthing off about gay people and it's someone I know, and, depending on your situation, maybe you don't have the freedom to do this, and they're going, gay people this, gay people that, I will say, well, I'm gay, right? And they get really quiet, and then they're not your friend anymore. I had one woman do that, and I will tell people it's a mystery to me why she dropped me as a friend. The other friend found out, and she's Catholic as well, and she kind of went like this, but then she was like, I don't think I heard you. And I'm fine with that. Some people don't want to hear you on some stuff. You're going to tell some Christians that you're pagan. You're going to hear stuff about it's a phase. You don't know what you're doing. You're talking to crazy people in a cult. They just don't know. They haven't experienced it. If you haven't experienced something, it's hard to know what it's like. So if I tell you about growing up Roman Catholic, if you haven't experienced it, you can just go based on my stories, but you don't know what it's like. The frustrating thing is once you get in paganism and you find out that, yeah, there are a couple of nut jobs in every religion, but most people are okay and safe. You find out it's like everything else, but until they have that experience, they can't, they can't do it. Loki will, in my experience, invite himself to go visit people. Not that he starts showing up in dreams or something, but he will invite himself to go visit people at times and look in. And I think our gods have an understanding with their god of we're not going to antagonize each other, we're not going to bother each other's people. Um, let's just have our children get along and play nice. In fact, Loki has called it my play dates going up there. He's like, play nice with your friends. Because to Loki, I'm Loki's. I can worship 500 other gods or talk to 500 other gods, work with them, whatever you want to call it. He doesn't care. At the end of the day, I'm his human. We have this understanding that foxball zooms out and slams down. But, he's like, play nice. Play nice. So sometimes, it's, try to feel it. If you think you can have a meaningful discussion and it's important for you to share working with Loki, try not to do it around the holidays. That would be my biggest tip. Don't try, I know sometimes you only see people during the holidays, but try not to do it during the holidays. Try not to do it during a time when you're both rushing and you only have 5 minutes to talk. Just, pray to the gods, pray to Loki, say, when would it be a good time, if ever, to bring it up? And if you've already brought it up and you know the person, you're just not going to get anywhere with them, it's sometimes better to agree to disagree. Like my friends brought up their church groups today. They really brought them up like 10 times. And we could talk about church because I went to church, so I'm not lying when I'm talking about having gone to St. Eddie's. And that kind of calmed them down. That I was involved with some kind of church, even if it was in the past, they'll kind of ignore that and it'll calm them down for a while. Now, I would, if I felt a calling, go to church. To me, it's not a problem, but obviously that's something you have to discuss with your family and discuss with Loki. With me, Loki's open because he knows I toddle around everywhere, but he knows at the end of the day, I always come back. He knows sometimes most Lokeans were undeniably curious. We have to see what's going on. So he for his part isn't going to be mad at us if we do end up, say, going to church or sitting down and listening to someone or listening to someone's testimony, like Christian testimony. He knows I'm addicted to those It's a Miracle stuff, but even though it is something you would say is Catholic or Christian, we actually sit there and try to pick out the pagan god. Like, that one has to be Uller, and that was definitely Odin, and we sit there and we have fun with it because they're kind of wishy-washy, wibbly-wobbly on there, and they don't usually quote scripture or anything at you. They just say, it's a miracle. And, it's kind of like our guilty pleasure to watch together. So, try to find some common ground. Sometimes, if you can't get them to, agree to disagree, then, try to avoid the subject. If they bring it up, if they start talking about your immortal soul, just understand that they have been taught that way. And it took me decades to realize this, guys. I was just as angry and upset and frightened and scared when I transitioned out of Christianity. They have been taught that way. They trust the people that have taught them that way. That is so. They've never sat down with God and said, God, do you really cast people into hell for going to another religion? And all flavors of Christianity are different. UU Church, well, their shortest teaching is God loves you, you're going to end up in heaven, there's nothing you can do about it. That's actually the sum total of their belief system. Then they try to have church, and it's kind of amusing because they really don't know what to talk about, but that's the sum total of their belief system. Everybody's going to heaven. Buddhists, atheists, the most horrible people on the planet, everybody's going. Everybody's got a pass card. How? Because they don't believe in the divinity of Christ, I'm not sure, but hey, it's a good brand of Christianity if you ask me. And some people think only a select number are going, and some people think there are conditions to going, and they're all different kinds of faith. But for the person that asked, from what they're saying, the person will occasionally say there's only one God. Well, the vast majority of the Christians I know probably believe that way, and I just don't bring it up. I see people sometimes I think might be pagan, but everybody's really closed around here, so I'm like, are those coded pagan signs on your house, or do you just really like stars and statues? Like, until I see a statue of Pan or Loki or something, I'm not sure. Even then, I might just look at it and be like, wow, you're really into Greek art. You certainly have a lot of statues of the gods. Is that a custom Dionysus? you know, you're never quite sure. But at the end of the day, guys, it's just something that over time you learn to be kind of content with Loki, and you learn that it's one of those complicated things. In a perfect world, we'd all go to this universal temple and we'd worship as we want to worship, and we'd have the gods or goddess or whomever that we work with. And we'd all get along. But for some people it's hard. I know it hurts, and I know some people are just mean. There are people that are just mean, so I know that. But some people are coming from a genuine place of concern, and that's something you don't see until you're older and you've just lived enough life. I know that I hated hearing that when I was younger, but when you're finally older, you see that yeah, it can drive us up the wall. It can make us crazy, but sometimes the person is really concerned. Some people are just mean, belligerent idiots, and they don't respect other religions, but some people are really concerned. Either way, I know it's not nice to hear, but kind of just let it go. I've never experienced Loki say, you have to make them respect me. Loki's honestly more like, if you've been with the channel for a while, the toxic aunties and how they make religion into a weapon. Loki just smiles and he goes up and he visits them and he wrecks chaos. But that is not something, by the way, you can get Loki to do. Loki just decides he's going to visit it, and then he goes up and he comes back down, and it's a really complicated thing. There's no one, I'm sorry guys, but there's no one easy answer. I will actually pray to Loki and these sort of gods and goddesses, and out of respect to them, I will pray to their god and say, I'm coming to visit your children. Please let us have a nice meal together, and please don't let me feel pressured, and don't let them get angry over religion or something. I said, I like you well enough, I just don't have to come see you in church. And it seems to be an agreement we have. So, if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later. And thanks to the person that asked, because it is something that's actually been coming up a lot for us personally. Of, who is God, and are there many gods? Is there one God? There's many answers to that question as there are people on the planet. So, I will see you guys later. Bye bye.